2017 Kia Sorento. The other day, my wife cranked it up, and it cranked up fine. The battery's good and everything. The red battery light come on. She called me, and I told her just to drive it on home. So we checked it. The battery's good. So I took it to a mechanic, a certified mechanic. He said there wasn't no power going to the plug on the alternator.
All right, on your alternator, you have one big wire that comes from the battery, and then you have a plug that's got 3 wires. 2 of them come from the PCM, and then the third one on that plug comes from the instrument cluster.
Okay.
So the instrument cluster gets power from the cluster fuse in the IGPM, Integrated Gateway Power Module, behind the left side of the dash. If the fuse is good, and if there's power going into the instrument cluster on the gray and orange wire, but there's no power coming out of the instrument cluster on the green wire over to the alternator, your instrument cluster is bad. But if that circuit checks out good, and it's either the white or the blue wire between the PCM and the alternator, either A, that we got an issue with the PCM, or there's a wiring issue between the PCM and the alternator. So the very first thing I would do is rule out this green wire, make sure that's got power going to the back of the alternator. I would turn the key on, unplug that connector to the back of the alternator, make sure that green wire has got battery voltage. So now that I think about it, looking at the diagram, there's a resistor in the instrument cluster, so it might not have battery voltage, but it should have some sort of voltage on it. So I suspect that circuit's good, at least from the fuse to the instrument. Well, actually, no, both of them, because... Well, I just check it. Just check for voltage on the green wire. All right. If that checks out good, then at that point, we got to check the wires. Start by checking the white wire and the blue wire that run between the PCM and the alternator. Fix or repair the wiring as needed. If the wiring checks out good, then I would recommend a check for codes in that PCM to see if there's any charging system or circuit-related codes.
We need to check for power on the green wire.
Yep.
And then check for any codes.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if he's checked for power on that green wire or not.
Yeah, you can. That'd be something to ask him.
He just told me that there wasn't any power on the wires going to that little plug. So I don't know if he's checked all of them or just 1 or 2 of them. So I don't know if he checked all of them or not.
Yeah, I don't know either. You're going to have to ask him. But based on what you're telling me, he says there's no power. That would suggest that there's no power on the green wire. I would double check.
How do you get power to that?
Well, that comes from the instrument cluster. So again, it starts at the cluster fuse in the IGPM, Integrated Gateway Power Module, and it goes down to your cluster, and then it comes out on the green wire. So the voltage actually comes from, in on the gray and orange, and then out the cluster on the green wire. So maybe the instrument cluster is bad. But if that charge light's working, I suspect the cluster isn't the problem, because I think the alternator actually grounds this green wire to illuminate the charge light. That's how it's supposed to work. At least the last I checked. So, but just check it. Yeah. Just check for voltage on this green wire.
All right, then. We'll see. I'll call him tomorrow. He's closed now. I'll call him tomorrow.
And then don't forget to ask him. Make sure, just double check. Make sure he pulled or checked for codes in the PCM.
Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome. Good luck.